hello thing, and we'll go from there. But let me tell you guys what this is all about, and I will do my best, the best I possibly can to represent Megan's take on this too. But bless you, Megan. She is a gem. Thank you for looking that up. Okay, so ultimately, what I want to talk to you today is this kind of like idea that I want to introduce, which is the million her mentality. I've been using that word a lot lately. We're in the process of getting it trademarked because it really encapsulates this message that I want to be sharing with you guys a lot more. That it is not just about like who can scale to 7 figures or who has the 7-figure business or whatever. It is so much deeper than that in terms of finding real success and real lit upness and having a real lit up life in your online business. So you guys know that I coach all different clients. I have some clients that are, I have lipstick on my teeth. I have some clients that are working with me to get their first client. I have some clients who are well beyond 7 figures. I have some clients who it took a few years to get there. I have some clients who got there in less than a year. Like we run the gamut here at A Lit Up Life, right? And because of that, I feel like I can so confidently speak to this message of it really has so little to do with how much money your business makes and so much more to do with what kind of business can you design to actually make you feel like a millionaire. And that's why we're calling it Million Her, because it really isn't about just the cash, although of course that's part of it and of course that's a big part of it. But the online space fucking tricks you. Right? So I want to talk about that. What happens is we leave like the corporate rat race so often, right? Tell me why you left corporate. Like if you're listening and you had a 9-to-5, tell me why you left it. Like I want to know that, right? So often we leave it because we're like, this is not the life I want. This is not in alignment with my values. This is not what I truly want. This is not my priority. All of those things, right? We all have a different variety of reasons, but I would love to know what yours are. So tell me like what made you left or what makes you want to leave. But what happens is that we can see in that space like, oh, I'm supposed to be on this track and it's supposed to look this way. And we kind of get to this place of like, fuck that shit, right? And we get over it and we don't want to deal with it and all of those kind of things. Like we want a different life for ourselves. But then what I see happen to people so often is that they jump into the online space and they trick themselves thinking that they're going to do it different this time, right? But like they end up doing it exactly the same. They're looking at everybody else and going like, what was her path? And I have to do it that way and it has to look like that. Or like, you know, they come in wanting one thing and then like they hear all this noise in the online space and it quickly shifts to wanting another, or they end up building a business they don't even like. I have so many clients who unfortunately come to me after building a business that is successful, but like does not feel like real success to them. And we have to kind of like unbuild it and rebuild it in a way that actually fits them. And so the reason I'm like so obsessed with this message and the reason you're going to hear this from me a lot more lately is because I want you to be thinking about like, how can I build a business that's so in alignment for me that it literally makes me feel like a millionaire even before I am, right? I feel like that is like the thing that I have rock solid down. And I feel like it's the reason my clients always re-sign with me. I feel like it's the reason that clients that are making more money than me re-sign with me. I feel like it's the reason I get my clients really good results because I am the happiest human I know. And I literally feel like a multimillionaire every single day. Like, this isn't one of those things that I'm just like saying and then I'm going to come back 3 months later and be like, I was actually in a really bad place then and now I'm feeling better and da-da. Like, no, I am literally like the happiest human I know and feel like a multimillionaire in my business every single day because I'm running a business I love, because I'm doing work that I actually love every day, because I am showing up in a way that is in alignment with me and that actually feels good and that actually serves me, right? That's looked like doing things in a totally non-traditional fashion, even in the online space, right? But it is so fucking important because it is what has kept me in business. It's what helps me continue to grow. And it's what ultimately makes it so that like, it almost doesn't matter what I make next year, although I know it's going to be way more because it always is. but it's just because I am like so happy and lit up every day. And what we see so often is we'll look at someone else and we'll think, well, if I had that life, I think I could be happy. So let me try to like build that, instead of like really looking inside and being like, what business would actually make me happy? What business would make it so that I literally felt like a millionaire every day? What business would make it so that ultimately it almost didn't matter how it played out because I felt that good in it every single day? Like, those are important questions that not enough of us are talking about or asking in the online space. Megan says, I'm so sorry, it's not letting me do anything and Google is not helping. What the actual F? Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. This is crazy. We got to figure this out for Happy Thoughts too. We had to, if you're a happy thoughter, you're going to get a recorded video from Sarah and I because we just couldn't like keep fighting with Facebook on this. All right, Megan, I am so sorry. I guess we won't be able to have you on today. I'm so sorry too, because I know you set aside this time, but feel free to comment your wisdom or like go use this time to take a fucking nap or whatever feels good. But I'm so sorry and thank you for being here. I'm so sorry you guys won't get to see Megan. I'm sure she will drop some of her wisdom for us at some point on this because she has a lot of thoughts on this as well. But hey, Nico, yes, totally, you can watch it later. So anyway, back to what we were talking about. Something that I've noticed over and over again is that everyone has challenges and so rarely are they actually related to their circumstances. And so much more they're related to like, have they actually built a business that's in alignment with themselves and their values and their priorities, right? And so I can say that because again, I'm like behind the scenes on so many different types and levels of business. And I can tell you that's true. Like, I really think that there's this complete misperception that like once you're at a certain point, it all feels easy and you don't have problems and a certain point of income. It all feels easy, you don't have problems and like everything's hunky-dory. And it's just not like that. It's really like everything feels good when you do things that are in alignment with you, when you do things that actually feel good, when you show up in your business like you would if you were already the success that you wanted to be, if you were already the millionaire that you wanted to be, that kind of stuff, right? Like, there's such a, how do I want to say? There's such a difference between like, you can be working to all of that and still feel really good right now. And there's also a difference between like, you can have that and still not feel good, right? And so what I really want to encourage all of you to do is like, ask yourself the real question of like, what can I do in my business and what kind of business can I actually build that is totally in alignment with my values and that makes me feel like a millionaire whether I am or not, right? And so when I say feel like a millionaire, I just mean like that level of like peace and contentedness and abundance and fulfillment that we all think we'll have at this space, right? That's so weird because it just said like you discontinued the ability to bring on a guest. Okay. I'm not going to fuck with this right now. Anyway, that's so important that you're living into that every day, right? So with my business model, you guys know, I take a revenue percentage of my clients. And so we scale very quickly, but also it's naturally going to be slower because it's really based on like overall our clients' income and that growing and stuff like that. And so I really have to choose ultimately between like, does that make me feel better? Or would getting even more income even faster make me feel better? And I'll tell you honestly, hands down 100% of the time, what makes me feel better and what makes me feel like a millionaire every day is having a business that I actually want to show up in, having a business that's actually in alignment with who I want to be and how I want to be, having a business that actually feels good, right? I have some clients that you know, aren't even looking to get that. Like they want to like spend time with their kiddos, work 20 hours a week, make $250K. And like, that's it. Like that's the goal. That's fucking awesome. That's beautiful. And that client feels just as much like a successful, rich, abundant millionaire business owner as someone who is making $1 million because it's in alignment with their values, their priorities, and what they actually want. What the online space will do to you sometimes is trick you that if it doesn't look a certain way or if that you don't get this one result in a certain amount of time, guess what? You're not doing it right. You're doing it wrong. You're not on the right path. It means you're not meant for success. All of the shit that corporate does, right? Like, do you see how it's like the same thing? And like the message we're all preaching is like, leave that rat race, you know, create your own business, do it your way. But like so few people are actually doing it their own way. And so few coaches are actually encouraging you to do it your own way. And like, that is the message I want to be about. Like, I want to be about every client saying to me, like, I feel so happy in my business that it like, I feel like a millionaire already. So many of the women in my Millionaire Makers Mastermind talk about that all the time. It's like, I already feel like that's true. That's already mine. I'm already living like that, right? That is the magic. And again, of course the money comes from that, but there is so much magic in designing it in a way that actually makes you feel like that. And I would bet 75% of people don't even know what that is for them. They're like, I really just think it's like, if I make the money, then it'll work out. And I gotta tell you, it's not true. Just like in corporate, like I've had so many clients that have come to me with like this 6-figure or way more than 6-figure job, and it doesn't matter. It's not enough, right? The money always gets old after a certain amount of time. And I'm not saying that I'm not like massively fucking grateful for it or that it doesn't contribute to my life. It's just not enough, and we have to stop pretending like it is, right? I'm all about the money. You guys know I share client results every week. My clients make a shit ton of money. I think that's something I have locked and loaded and I'm like pretty excellent at. But the truth is, it's just not enough. Even the clients that I have that have scaled really far, like most of the reason is because there's some other driving factor that lights them up and fulfills them and makes them excited and all of these amazing things. It's not just the money, right? And so if what you're ultimately focused on is this idea of like, it has to be about the money, it has to look a certain way, I have to be on this certain path, you're going to do what I've seen a lot of people do in this online space, which is get there and then burn it all down. Just like we do with the corporate jobs. We get to the pinnacle and then we're like, wait, this doesn't feel how I thought it would feel. Fuck this shit. Right? Hello, has anyone been there? Like, I was totally there. When I was in the corporate space, I basically like got my dream job at a very young age. I'm sure I've told you all this story like 150 million times, but I like had the dream job and I would just drive to work every single day being like, is this all there is? Like, and I would look at people in their cars and be like, are they thinking that too? Or is that me? But like, this can't be all there is, right? And it wasn't about anything other than like, it wasn't in alignment with me and my values and my priorities and kind of life I wanted to live, right? And so I really want you guys to take this mentality and start thinking about it and adopting it. So it's not just like, you know, like, who am I once I get to 7 figures? It's like, what is the million her version of me? Like, what is that mentality that I can take on where I feel like a millionaire all day, every day in my business right now? I'll tell you something interesting. Someone on my team recently hired me actually, and she works behind the scenes in a lot of big businesses, and she said something to me like, you know, do you know why I hired you? And I was like, oh no, you know, why? Right? I mean, like, I assume because I'm awesome, but why? No, I'm kidding. But she was like, you are the only person I work for who is about what they say they're about. Like, how you are on the front end is how you are on the back end. Like, when you say on the front end that you behave in all these ways and you show up in all these ways and you feel all these things, like, that's 100% true for you. And I knew I needed to work with you. She's like, I don't see that in anyone else. Right? And I'm not using that as a comparison for me. I'm using it to say there are so many women that are living out of alignment with their message, that are not in their like happiest and best place, that are building businesses that do not actually serve them because they think the money and the notoriety and the whatever else will be the thing that makes it all come together, that makes them happy, or that gives them everything they want. And like, that might be partially true. Like, making more money might make your life significantly better, but it is not the whole thing, right? The whole thing is truly building a business that is in alignment with you, even if it means doing it totally different than anybody else in the online space, even if it means forging your own path, finding your own innovative way to do it. Like something that Megan and I talk about all the time, which I'm so bummed that you guys don't get to hear her talk about this because I love it, but we talk about like our business is basically a 10-seat bar, right? So what we mean by that is that, you know, like those bars that have 10 seats where basically people will wait in line for like 2 hours to get into, and it's like you have a relationship with the bartender and their drinks are just like absolutely amazing, and it's like it's this one little place and it has such a good vibe and like people can't wait to go there and whatever. But like if that 10-seat bar was like, oh, well, people like our shit, we'll expand and we'll franchise and we'll open another and we'll open another, and then it kind of loses the magic. Like that's how we see a Lit Up Life, is basically like our magic is in our ability to serve and impact deeply a handful of people, and we have a long wait for it. But we're not trying to like change the whole atmosphere by being like, how fast can we expand? We're trying to be like, we expand within this vibe. So if we have to raise our drink prices, if we have to whatever, like this is our jam. And it's been so useful to kind of just be like, it's cool, we can run it this way, this feels best to us, this is what makes me like excited to get up every morning. I had one call day recently. I think I had like 8 calls in a day, which is a lot, right? Normally most of us wouldn't do that. But it had to do with like holidays and taking time off and stuff. And I checked in with myself that whole day to be like, how's this feeling? Am I feeling really tired? Am I feeling burnt out? Am I feeling overwhelmed? And I was like, I feel fucking awesome. Like I love coaching these women every day. I love being on Zoom with them. I love connecting with them. Like this is what I am meant to be doing, and this is my jam. And it wasn't like, how much money am I making today? Although like obviously I make a ton of money, right? But it was kind of like, this business is so in alignment for me because I could be on the phone for 8 hours today and I still feel good, right? And that is not for everyone. I have very few clients who would say that's true for them, and that's totally fine. I have no problem with that. Like my version of being a millionaire or a millionaire doesn't have to be yours. But the reason I say that is to illustrate that like those are the things that get you through challenging times in business, and they're what actually help you grow the business, right? So if you take the million her mentality and figure out like, what is the business that serves me and that lights me up and that I love and that fulfills me and whatever, I promise you the money will fucking come. I promise, right? But, excuse me. But if you feel like, you know, you have to do it a certain way or have to follow someone else's path, and you get to that certain income level or whatever and look around and it's not like you want it to be, like so many of us have experienced in corporate, you're going to be kicking yourself the whole time, right? It's also the things that get you through the hard times. So like if you have one of those days where you're just having a shitty day, I have plenty of those. Having a business that you actually like and don't resent and pretty much, you know, feel fulfilled and love really gets you through those hard times. If you have a failure, you want to keep showing up. If things don't go how you want them to, it doesn't fucking matter, right? If you're like, I have to do this path that I hate, right? So I can make this money, and then you have a setback, you're going to want to give up. Like you're going to want to give up so fast. Now, to be clear, it doesn't mean that we never have resistance or challenge points. So I'm not saying on some clients that if they're like, well, I don't want to do that I'm not going to push on it and be like, but why not? Like, talk to me about that. Help me understand that. And there are, of course, things that we're going to push through. Like, you know, so many people have getting on video as a fear, but very few people like really wouldn't be in alignment with like actually sharing their message with someone in this way. And so that's something we get to talk about and work through. So there's certainly pieces of that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like knowing the type of business, the type of income you want to build is so important. And it doesn't have to be like, I always joke that like 7 figures is the new 6 almost. It's like everybody's like, get to 6. And now it's like, you almost like can't even like stop at 6. You're like, how fast do I get to 7? And for some people, that's really awesome. I have some clients who thrive in that. And for some people, that puts them on a path that really keeps them stuck and makes them feel shitty and creates a ton of expectation and is totally out of alignment with their values and their priorities in their life, right? Megan says, yes, from day one, you knew you didn't want to scale in the traditional way and were not interested in scaling to 7 figures as fast as possible because it's not about the money, but in how you're living and building the business in a way that really serves you. Totally. I think that's So true, is like it has to be about your day-to-day overall happiness, because your day-to-day happiness is going to be the greatest impactor on your business, right? Like the reason I thrive in my business and I feel good and I have clients I love and I feel fucking lit up and I make a ton of money and all of that is because I feel good day to day in my business. I have almost never seen it work out where someone feels like shit day to day in their business and is able to create a lot of results. Like I very rarely, and usually it's short-lived. It'll be like someone that can create the result, but they can't sustain it at all. I've seen so many people have that happen in the online space where they create a big result doing a bunch of shit they don't want to do and they fucking burn it to the ground, right? I'm sure you all have seen that. Caitlin says, gosh, I love this so much. Such a great reminder. I have to stop and tell myself sometimes. Caitlin, you wanted flexibility and freedom and you have it. You wanted to work less and not be in a constant state of stress. So stop doing that to yourself to do more or be more. Do what feels good. Totally. I don't know, that hustle led me to burnout in the corporate world. So why do I do that to myself now? Caitlin, 100%. I really think, just my opinion, that like part of the reason we do that to ourselves is because this space has almost become like a micro of the corporate world in certain ways, where we're saying there's a right way to do something, there's a right result, there's a right path, there's a right way kind of thing. And it's even so subliminal, right? Sometimes in terms of like, we're not saying you have to make a ton of money, but like basically you have to make a ton of money, or like we're not saying you have to get to 7 figures, but like only people that are super amazing do, or things like that, right? Like I think that there's like just as much gunk in our heads here, sometimes even more so than in the corporate world, right? Because it's really this idea of like it's supposed to be this way, you know? And so then we put that expectation on ourselves and then we hustle to meet it, right? And it's just such a trap. It's such a trap. It's always a trap. It's a trap online. It's a trap in corporate, whatever, because we end up, it's like, what's the whole thing with corporate, right? Is that you basically like are miserable for however many 40 years that you can like retire and then hopefully have a good time. And we don't want the same thing here. Like I want to be so happy with how I spend my days, right? And I want to be not just happy at the end of a launch because I made a ton of money, or happy when I get to go on this trip or whatever. Like I want to be happy all the time. And I just think that's gotten so deprioritized in this space, even though it is really important. Caitlin says, yes, keeping up with the Joneses sometimes, totally. So that's why I just want to be talking about this mentality so much more. And I want you to be asking yourself and even giving it that different name. Like that's why I came up with the name Million Her, because it's like that slight shift. And like, yeah, it can feel like, I said this over, I literally feel like a millionaire every day. Like I can't even imagine, like nothing would feel different. I mean, obviously my business makes a lot of money, but we don't make $1 million a year yet. Literally nothing would feel different if I did. Nothing, right? And that's how I know it'll come too, because like nothing would feel fucking different. But like that feeling every day is priceless. It is like the best, right? And anyone that knows me or works behind the scenes, and that's why I was gonna have Megan chime in on too, is like knows that's true and knows that that's really how I show up. Like I'm not on here going, we don't make problems, and I never worry or stress that much in my business, and it's pretty flow-based and easy. Like that's not a thing I'm saying. That's a thing that's like true with a capital T, because it's a non-negotiable for me, because my day-to-day happiness is ultimately what makes up my ultimate life and success and all of these things. And so I just hope that this is like a gift you can give yourself at the end of the year. I wanted to do this around the end of the year when you can really start thinking about like, well, what is that for me next year? Because so many people set the 10K, 100K, 7-figure goal, and those are good and fine. And like, again, I help clients with those every day, right? But it's like, have you really thought about like what that looks like for you? Have you thought about like what that Million Her version is for you? I know some of my clients are like, it's working 15 hours and making 150K. And some of them are like, it's scaling way past 6 figures and into 7. And for some, it's like really prioritizing time with my family this year. For one of my clients, she's making a ton of money and she's like reprioritizing her dating life and like living into that and not pressuring herself on like, how fast can I hit this next number? Like, there are just so many options available to you. You just forget you have them, right? Megan says, I think it's easy to think I'll be happy once I hit X amount or get X result. And it's actually being happy, living your values, etc., that brings the results faster and easier. Perfectly said. Like, I've never been happier in my business because I hit a specific result. I've always like felt that excitement or energy or whatever. And then like that all comes. Like, the things that have blown up the most in my business have blown up just because I've already decided they were amazing and been excited about them before they even happened, right? Like, the partnership is such a great example of that. Like, I was so locked in and excited about that like it didn't even matter how that went, but of course it went beautifully, right? Julianne says, I don't focus on the money. I focus on serving my clients and protecting my time with my children, right? So like that might be your version of being a millionaire, right? Like, you could feel like a millionaire, right, every day because you have an abundance of time with your kids, because you feel like you have an abundance of amazing clients. Like, whatever that is, that could be it for you. And what happens so often is that even though that feels good, we spend a lot of time making it wrong. Do you know what I mean? So we're like, this feels so good, but like, I'm not really pushing harder. I'm not doing more. I'm not doing it like she's doing, or I'm not working as hard as I should be, or whatever. And then it like zaps our joy, right? I totally had that at a certain point in my business where I was growing really fast and knew I didn't want to scale in the traditional way and was getting a lot of feedback that like that was pretty much the only way to do it. And like that, like I wasn't, pushing myself if I wasn't doing that. And then I was like, except this feels really motherfucking good and I'm going to stop making that wrong, right? And like, again, as soon as I did that, like none of it mattered. Like, I still have clients that are growing at tremendous rates that make way more than me. That kind of like, it didn't stop any of my growth. It didn't stop any of my expansion, right? I still make 6 figures plus more each year. Like, nothing stopped. I just stopped making myself wrong for it, right? Megan said, one thing that I think is important in this too is just giving yourself permission to want what you want. Exactly, right? So with a Lit Up Life, like I'm very clear on what I want. So it's easy for my team to support me in getting that. It's also easy for me to get that. But I also had to give myself like an F ton of permission to just want what I wanted. Like, it's not normal or whatever in the space to be like, I just want scalable one-on-one. Like, before I started doing it this way, pretty much everybody would tell you that's not a thing, right? But when I decided that I just like want what I want and I want it how I want it and I'll figure it out. And even if it takes longer to get there, that's fine. Everything changed. I stopped making myself wrong. Things stopped feeling really hard. I started feeling like literally a millionaire every single day because I just got to want what I wanted, right? So I really just hope that you bring this mentality to your 2020. I hope that you check in with yourself on it this year. What do you want? What is most important to you? And if it's the money, that's fine too, right? But just don't trick yourself into thinking that any of those things, the money, the followers, whatever, will be the thing that makes you happy. Figure out how to live that life and experience now and go from there. What I want more than anything is for other women to start sharing about this more and to start sharing what their version is. Because I think in the online space so often we almost feel, what's the word? I think this is a very dramatic word, but I'm going to use it. We almost feel shamed or ashamed if we haven't hit this certain level and we feel like we're not allowed to feel really happy unless we're there, right? And so that's what I want this message to be about. Is like, you're allowed to feel fucking happy and amazing at whatever income level and whatever hour commitment and whatever business model feels good to you. You're allowed to feel fucking happy. You're allowed to feel fucking amazing, and you're allowed to feel like a fucking millionaire right there, right where you are. Right? Like, it is not popular for me to get on here and be like, a Lit Up Life is not making $1 million a year yet, and I feel like a motherfucking millionaire every single day, all day. Right? But like, permission for everybody to start doing and saying that, because that's what we need to hear more of. That is like hands down what we need to hear more of. That is the reason we all started this. That is the reason we wanted to be entrepreneurs and wanted to do it our way and wanted to start our own business. And so recreating that corporate structure where we're trying to get someone else's result and live someone else's life, like, has to go. And our own day-to-day happiness in our business, our own day-to-day good feelings in our business, our own day-to-day flow and ease and all of those things have to come back as a top priority, right? So like Julianne said as an example that she's focusing on protecting her time with her children. So like she needs to be able to go out there and be like, I am in the best place in my business. I'm so happy. I have time with my children. I'm so in alignment with my values. I'm so in alignment with my priorities. And I brag that I have the most amazing business, right? And sometimes it feels like there's not space for that if you're not making a certain income, right? And like, I also know people who are making a certain income that are not happy in their business. I've been in this online space a long time, and I can think of 4 people in particular that were huge when I started, and that all basically came out and were like, I built the worst business, like I'm miserable, and kind of like tore it all to the ground. Like, again, it didn't matter that they were making $1 million, right? Just like in corporate, it doesn't matter when you're making 200,000 or whatever that is. Like, if you hate it, you hate it, right? So go into next year knowing like, what business model do I actually want? What do I want my life to look like? Am I doing things in alignment with that? Am I feeling good every day? Like, that's the ultimate indicator of your success, you guys. If you feel really good in your business every day, you can be really sure that you're going to experience more success. If you feel really bad in your business every day on the hope that you're going to hit it big, you're totally missing the point. And it's going to be really hard to hit it big. Or you're going to hit it big for like a minute and then you're going to self-destruct, right? And I'm not trying to say this in a negative way. I'm trying to say this in a permission to be fucking happy now way. Permission to figure out what your millionaire, that's probably a thing. That's genius. What your millionaire mentality is and what that looks like for you, and to own it in that way. And to really brag about it, to let yourself feel good about it, to shout it from the rooftops, to own it more, because this is what I want to hear more women sharing in the online spaces. Like, I have a business that lights me the fuck up, right? And that I have built it in a way that serves me and supports my life and all of these things. Then tell me how much you make, right? It's so important. Megan says, side note I'll add too, is that when you are super clear on what that million her version is for you, it also makes it easier for your team to support you. For a Lit Up Life, you always knew our thing and communicated that with me. So that has helped me understand you and the business goals more deeply, and then serve it more effectively too. Thank you. I love you. That's so true though. It's so true. Right? When you're like just kind of on this path and you like kind of don't even know what you really want. You just know that you're supposed to make as much money as fast as possible because that's what everyone says. Your team is running around like chickens with their head cut off too. When you're like, this is what my best and happiest version looks like. This is what me as a millionaire looks like. This is what would make me feel like a millionaire every fucking day in my business. Guess what? It's really easy to get there, right? It's really easy for your team to help you get there. What do I want to say? Last thing I will say, I'm probably going to do a whole separate live stream on this, but this last piece feels really important, which is, I think I already said it, but I want to say it more deeply, is this idea that like your circumstances so often have so little to do with the ultimate experience that you're having, right? So I know some people that make 10K a month and feel abundant as fuck, and I know some people that make 100K a month and feel like it's barely enough. Your circumstances have so little to do with it. I know some people who, you know, have 400 people in their Facebook group and feel like they have like the coolest, best, most successful business. And I know some people that have 40,000 and just feel like it's never enough and they're never reaching enough people and all of that stuff, right? And so it's easy to be like, oh no, but if I had 40,000, like I would totally feel like it was enough. But like, if you don't feel like your 400 are enough, you're not going to feel like your 40,000 are enough. I promise you that from like the deepest place in my heart. And so figuring out how to experience those good feelings now, whether that's changing your business model, working on your mindset, all of the above, figuring out what fits you, all of that kind of stuff, instead of like chasing that thing, is going to make you so much happier, so much more successful, and will help you grow a business that is like long-term sustainable and like actually gives you what you want, right? And so it's not to say that those particulars aren't important, or that you can't be like, well, I do want to make 100K, or I do want 48,000 people in my Facebook group. Those are great. But if you can come to that from a place of like, because I already feel amazing and that would feel awesome. Like whenever I set a goal in my business now, it's pretty much just like, I know that goal really won't make me any happier. It just feels fun. Just feels good. It feels like the next thing. Like there's like no income level or goal I'm going to hit at this point that's actually going to make me that much happier. I'm so fucking happy. Like that's when those things become fun and easy and things to grow into. When you feel like your happiness or your million her version is on the other side of those things, you're going to work really, really hard for a really long time with not a lot of results usually, right? So your goal is to figure out, what is the million her version of you? What does that actually look like in 2020? What does that actually look like for your business? How do you actually communicate that to your team? And watch everything transform. Watch the money actually start to come in faster than you thought was possible. Watch you actually feel like, fuck, I'm lit up every day. Like it will change everything. So I hope this is helpful for you. I think Megan or I will drop in like some questions in the comments to help you think of it. And then I just want to know, what do you guys think of this? Like, is this resonating for you? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Are you liking this new message around this? Because I feel like it just has to be out there more. I have to say it more. I want to have more conversations around what this looks like for each of you in this community. I'm going to be having way more conversations about this on Instagram too. I'm doing client lessons there every day. Like I just want to spread this message. It's like the constant conversation I'm having with my clients. And so having it with y'all too is just the natural and important next step. So I love you all. I hope this really resonated. I'll throw some questions in that you can ask yourself about this, and I'll talk to you next week. So sorry that Megan couldn't be here. I feel like that was a low point, but we will figure it out. She will be here again, and she did such a beautiful and lovely job sharing in the comments. So thank you, Megan. I love you, and I'll talk to you guys soon.